Hi. I'm a mom of 3 boys. And, yeah, at Charahoe. I went to Charahoe myself. I graduated in 1991. And the education of that time allowed me to leave Charahoe and the community, and I went to Florida A&M University. And I'm not sure if any of you know or are familiar with FAMU. I was the only white girl in a 6th floor dorm. I didn't care. I didn't care. It was a different area of the country. It was Florida. So there were people there who did care, and I was told, made aware of that. I still didn't care. Such was the education that I got at Charahoe. When I started realizing that the anti-racist task force that they formed was not, in fact, against racism, but bringing in racism, I started putting some puzzle pieces together. And the first thing I did was I started a Facebook page, a little prodded by Elaine here, and I reached out to all Charahoe alum, students, people in the community, but mostly Charahoe alumni, because I had the feeling, and that's really deep-seated feeling, that they got the same education as I did. And several of them reached out back and have supported this. You can go to my Facebook page and see who they are. They all don't look like me. They are from every race, religion, and ethnicity that we have in this community. They are from all political sides. I reached out to my Democrat friends who got right back to me and said, I don't want to have my child come home and say that they can't call me mom. And I said, good, stick with us. You don't have to make comments if you feel like you're going to be targeted, but follow the information that I'm finding. And they are so thankful. They're happy that they're being included, and they're informed. So we go from there. What's happening in Charahoe? Why do we need an anti-racism task force? I never received emails from the super saying that there was a racial problem at the school. You would think, as parents, you get multiple emails. I have 3 kids. I would get 1 email for each kid twice a day. My inbox is full of emails from the school. Not one in all these years, and I have a 13-year-old in 8th grade, had anything to do with racial issues at the school. So I started digging. There's no notification. The school committee member, who is also an activist, was the one to suggest the anti-racism task force. She also works at URI. The picture's starting to form. I started hitting back. Tell me, where are these racial incidents? I started looking into other people at the school and what they're putting on social media. I want to see what the discussion's about. I started noticing teachers at the school using Charahoe name to promote religious holidays, Black Lives Matter, their form of activism. So I screenshot it and I put it on my Facebook page. And once I posted about a teacher using Charahoe ceramics to advance BLM narratives into the community, that particular teacher at Charahoe tried to access and be a part of my Facebook group. I was like, declined. Took a screenshot of that. This will be important because 2 days later, that same teacher called the police on me from the school, saying a student had come in, shown her at school on social media what I said, how it offended that student, and they called the police. So I have grown up in this area. I've traveled the world, I've lived other places, I've seen a lot of things, been in a lot of different cultures. But this is a great community, so this is where I came back to. My neighbor up the road, who I grew up with, is also a detective in Hopkinton, came down, he said, I volunteered. He came walking in the door laughing. He said, there's not a thing you need to change. They're trying to violate your First Amendment rights. You don't have to do anything. I said, you know what, just so there aren't ripples in the community, I'll change one word. And, you know, he goes, you really don't have to. I said, okay. Come to find out, there's a school policy that doesn't allow social media at school. More questions. Why is there a student showing social media to a teacher at school? I'm working with our detective. He's a really good detective. He seems to think it's not the student. So then it started blossoming. Well, we have activist teachers using students to forward actions in the community. This is what's happening. We have a handful of teacher activists, one on the school committee, maybe a couple more. It's pretty apparent if you watch their meetings. They are and stating that they intend to use the children to spread their activism into the community. Joe Reddish said those very same words in the school committee meeting. Elaine and I both tried to be on this anti-racism task force, and we were not allowed. I was under the impression that when a school puts out a volunteer form, they can't ask for people's race. They're, all these personal things. But they did. They really did. And I'm pretty sure that's how we were put in the no pile. But come to find out, this committee was already formed well before they put together the volunteer sheet.
No, I was a year and a half ago. That's when I filled out. When it was just on the ground level.
Yes. But even the students came back and complained and said, I volunteered to be on this committee. I didn't even get an email. They just did this performative thing of, okay, everybody volunteer, but we've already got our own committee. So they're saying in policy changes that what they intend to do to the children is to teach them these tenets of critical race theory, perform action civics within their own households. So they would learn these things. They'd take home a paper to mom and dad. Mom and dad, you have to read it, you have to sign it, I've got to bring it back to school. That becomes a document signed by a parent that holds them accountable for any racial incidents in their household or surrounding area.
That's all biblical.
This is what they're openly talking about. They're bragging about it. They are performing community spread. So if you think you don't have kids in the school and it won't affect you, I beg to differ. Their intent is community spread. If you have a 94-year-old neighbor, they intend to get in her house too. This is what they're doing. This is how activism works. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that in Providence, they're actually having kids write statements about teachers and submit their statements to the principal to report on anything that is, going on that they feel if they want to, get rid of somebody, harass them. They're using children to do just that.
That's a violation of First Amendments. That is, coercing children to write something through an educated voice into one funnel of direction.
There's a reason why they don't want us teaching the Holocaust.
Yes.
Because they don't want us making the connection between what's happening now and what Hitler did in the Second World War.
So I just wanted to also bring in another factor that we have uniquely in Charahoe, that the Narragansett Indian tribe has onboarded with the BLM activists. And I want you all, if you have connections to tribal elders, to sit down and talk with them. I don't think the tribal elders know exactly what is going on with this. I think the representatives from the tribe that I'm seeing are very young. In general, we're talking 30 and below for the activists that have been activated or indoctrinated in colleges in the past couple of decades. So I would urge anybody to please sit down with the tribal elders and have them understand that the equity that they're being sold is not going to eventually work out in their benefit. There's no, I mean, once you start getting into this, you'll see that this community is being used once again to push forward what people at the top are going to be making money on. And we're seeing the whole cycle of this with the books. Who owns the books? Who's making the money on the books? They're getting rid of old books, but they're bringing in millions of dollars worth of new books. Who's making the bill off of that? And you can see that with all these different narratives going on. Gender sex therapy, who's making the money? Well, the pharmaceutical companies. So yes, they are actively going into the schools and, you know, passing out pamphlets. Here, take this drug over that drug. Or
You can't tell your parents.
exactly, because they'll make more money that way.
Polly, just one quick point. You
Yes,
guys are like,
please.
what, number 3 performing district in the
Number
state,
3
right?
in the state.
So,
Currently.
And your BIPOC population is like what?
8% or less.
8% or less. So, you know, no reports of racial problems, of course, you know.
I actually
So-
I called the next day after this police report. I'll tell you a story about that. I spoke to Chief Johnson of Richmond, where the school is located. He has had 0 racial incidents in the past couple of years.
Yeah, they don't give you any data to back up what they say.
Yeah.
You know, this CRT, it's a solution in search of a problem.
Exactly.
You know,
There
really.
is, so that's what we've been finding, and I've been finding and asking all along. Our school curriculums are written on empirical data. It is decades of everybody contributing. You have Black educators, Indigenous educators, Chinese, Portuguese, white Americans, swamp Yankees, you name it, they're all contributing. And over the time, they have found certain things like, you can't teach young children sexual education this young because it opens a door. We've had issues with pedophilia and teachers, and they've worked all this stuff out. This group is coming in and saying, we're putting all of that aside. We want all of our rules met. And their rules have no history, no data. It's all what they perceive, they think is going to work
No
through all their
boundaries.
coffee sessions. It really is. And they're creating the data as we speak. So the Anti-Racism Task Force was developed, and instantly they said, we want to go in and read all the policies, and we want to look for bias in them. We're going to change it, take out all the gender pronouns of our policies and our practices. And this is where the Narragansett tribe comes in. They want to be in charge, number 1, of decolonizing the Charahoe district. Now, do you guys remember when the Narragansetts had a school that I keep hitting a wall because I'm like, well, you had a chance at a school, you couldn't make it work, but now you're sending in what you tout are professionals to read through our curriculum and decolonize it. And then beyond that, they want to implement their curriculum. So all of the mystical beliefs that they have, all of their historical living truth stories are going to superimpose over any Christian beliefs. They want to get rid of Christian beliefs, that value system, and they're openly saying it. So the problem I want you guys to understand is they've come in with Adonis Spears, who claims to be a professional in the area of writing curriculum. And over the past several school committee meetings, she has openly stated she has no experience. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's never done this before. So they're selling you on professionals, but when you really listen to the meat of the conversations, they don't know what they're doing. And I want to know where they think they're going to come up with solutions that are solid for our children. there's that factor. I mean, I have this Facebook page. I have dumped information as I found it. Please feel free to go through, pull out information, question it, question the school committee about it, the town councils, the Narragansett tribe. I would like to know how they justify teaching a student a decolonization program when they have ancestors on both sides of the Swamp War. This is me. I have Narragansett heritage. I have white heritage. They can't justify those things. They can't show data. They can't show any kind of experience. But what they're doing now is asking for permission to go in and survey your children. And they're saying that. They're running surveys on our children. I've got no permission slips. They're running surveys on the teachers. And they're coming back with this data. And there was one meeting where Lisa Macaruso reported the data and said there was one teacher that was BIPOC at Charahoe. And another person said, that's ridiculous. There's several of them. I've seen them. Well, there's only one that identifies as BIPOC. So she's continuing on this narrative. It's false. Their surveys are very coercive. So I filed 19 APRAs with the school. I have a list of information that I'm mining for, and that is one of them. I want a copy of that survey. I want to see who printed that survey. Where did you get it from? Did you get it from an outside source that's possibly funded by Bill and Melinda Gates? Which I'm pretty sure that's where it's going to come from. We see a pattern happening with all of this material. This material was made by these NGOs, funded by left-wing politics, and when you start reading the names of them, they all come back to the same few. They've got their game together, they really do, but they don't have empirical data. They can't show facts. They're making it up on the fly. You can kill every single thing they have just by mining for what the facts are. There's, I don't know, there's so much going on. Where do you even begin?
Polly, how often do they report to the school committee? Are they on a set schedule, or it's whenever they come up with one of their three?
That's a funny thing. It's about once a month.
Because inherently their task force has zero power
Yes.
to do anything.
They are a subcommittee of the school committee.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We can discuss why that's BS, but
yes.
Sure. Like, they inherently don't have any power. They just report back on an interim basis when one of their three prongs, curriculum, policy, or practice, is generating enough information to report back.
Yeah, and what do the surveys look like? What does that data mining look like?
So are they reporting back?
Yeah, they are. They're reporting to the school committee.
And the school committee is doing what? Changing policy.
They are voting on changing these policies. Oh yes, we should have a hate speech policy. Well, who's determining what the hate speech is? Joe Reddish is over there going, our group will do it, our group will do it. Well, we already know how biased your group is. So we started this. If you wanted an anti-racism task force, why didn't you allow a Japanese American on it? Why didn't you allow any other ethnicities? Nope. No. The other thing I want to talk about.
Can I just say,
yeah.
If I may. Paul Michaud, I was a member of the town council in Richmond for 12 years. Recently did not run in 2020 and retired. Joe Reddish I know very well. I served on the council with him for several years. He's one of the biggest racists I ever met.
Very.
Okay? He will never claim to be a racist, but he is a racist.
He hides behind his card.
He hides behind blackness.
Yes.
Everybody figures he's black, he's not racist. But definitely is, no doubt about it. He hates me. I saw to it that he was not elected again to the town council. We beat him. Won the town council. Now he's been going through these other committees. He got appointed to something upstate now, some kind of commission.
Yes, he's coming before the Senate to be on a commission, which I will end up speaking about.
Yeah,
but
tell him we don't want a racist on the commission. Okay, see how that goes over.
yeah, oh, it's gonna go.
I'm sure he'll come back to me. He'll probably say, well, that must be that French Canadian down there.
Oh no, it's me. I'm the racist too.
We didn't get along too well, but anyway, we had to go to parents in public, but that was about it. But yeah, he's bad news. And in Richmond, we have 3 members on the school committee. They're all woke.
Yeah. Donna.
So there's no hope in any of those 3.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there is hope because the more you push them, the more they say.
Yeah.
Donna Chambers just in the last school committee meeting said, well, you know, and they were talking about regalia during the graduation. She said, well, we can't be having Confederate flags, Q shirts, or MAGA hats. And they have said to me, this isn't political. You should see John Anderson Twitch, their lawyer. He's not comfortable with all this stuff, I'm telling you. He's like, oh, Donna, you can't, if you're gonna allow some people to wear some things and then tell other kids that they can't wear particular things, we are gonna have lawsuits. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, and yep, you're going to. And you might even have a lawsuit for what you're saying that you intend to keep kids from doing.
Yeah.
But only certain kids.
Yeah.
So,
I want to make a point about money. I think everything comes down to money.
yeah,
When you look underneath the mattress.
it does.
And the town council funds the school committee, right?
Yep,
Pressure needs to be put on the town council.
we're doing that.
And I don't know if that's known across the board, but that's where the money is coming from. And that's where the pressure should be.
Thank you, we will. I do, yeah.
It's your turn. Go ahead.
Well, I also want to point out another big red flag at Charahoe is the Charahoe Youth Task Force. So, the Charahoe Youth Task Force is run by Dan Fitzgerald, who is also the co-chair of the Anti-Racist Task Force. He has put on his website, through Charahoe Youth Task Force, it is on Charahoe's main page. It was on their main page. There were links to donate to Dante Wright, BLM, BLM-LA. There were documents on what to wear in a protest, cop apps to download to avoid police detection, how to dress in black bloc, what to do if you should get arrested. This website is aimed at middle schoolers and up. I took half, you got to know your strategy, half of that information and sent it to the school committee and the superintendent. I said, this is unacceptable. This is aimed at children 11 and up, maybe 10 and up. How to not get arrested, and if you do get arrested during a protest, how to call a lawyer, how to deal with the police at 10, 11 years old. Are you kidding me? Second of all, you're soliciting money from middle school children. That's unacceptable. So what they did was, the only ones that I screenshot, they had him delete on that. The only ones. See, it was a test. It was a test because half of the other ones are still there. They took the website and moved it to the community section. So now, if you click on that, there's a disclaimer. So I ask you, if the school feels they need to put a disclaimer on the task force website because of the BLM links attached, that should tell you everything you need to know. They know it's there, they know they're supporting it, but yet they're CYA. So this stuff is getting pushed, it's in their face, we're getting rowdy with it, and I'm gonna have lots of good information if they provide the information that I've requested from them. And one of them is gonna be the situation with the teacher calling the police from the school. Why wasn't there a police report? No police report. You get a teacher calling from the school, there's no police report. So after that, let me just say what they did so you all understand. They could not silence me on Facebook. So their connections, and these are our tax dollars, they called the Attorney General's office and asked a gentleman from the Attorney General's office, as well as the Chief of Police, to attend their anti-racism task force meeting and discuss the laws of cyber harassment, cyber stalking, and if you watch that, it's Lisa Macaruso, who is the school committee liaison to this group, but this is her baby, don't get me wrong, she made this group. She looks for every single avenue to get me shut up or arrested or an investigation put upon me. Because I put in there, we see what you're doing, we are coming for you. That's all I said. Whoa, oh, they're coming for us. Yeah, yes, they are. And so even the school committee couldn't understand, why is the Attorney General's office down here? Why are
civil rights advocate of the
so I asked for all the emails on that. I want to know what was being said, why I'm being targeted, intimidated, using taxpayer funds, school time, and our children. Like they're using our children in the process of all of this. They have no compunction about teaching your kids something and sending them home to make sure mom and dad know that lesson as well. That will stop. We won't have that in this school district. That's unethical. They know it, we know it, and I have heard that every time you put one of these people's back to a wall with facts and information, they stay up about 3 nights, stressing, ripping their hair, trying to do yoga to get it out of them, you know. They can't. Yeah.